Hello, everybody. I'm Rolonda Watts, and we're continuing our week-long live coverage from Los Angeles of America watching the O.J. Simpson case. Today, we're going to look at the forgotten victims. We're going to meet a girlfriend of Ron Goldman, and we're going to get a personal glimpse of him and his life before he died from home video. But today, we're also on the eve of another turn of events in this ever-changing, ongoing O.J. Simpson saga. Tomorrow morning, Al Cowlings, O.J.'s best friend who drove that white Bronco, well, he's going to court to meet his fate. The question is, was his act an act of friendship or an act of crime? We think that's something worth talking about today on Rolonda. We're going to be taking your phone calls. We're live. Come on and join us. Join the conversation right now on Rolonda. We have been having quite a heated debate over all kinds of issues surrounding the O.J. Simpson case, and every day we have certainly heard the American people who've been calling in all across the nation, who have been here in the audience and even on our stage. We've been voicing a lot of concerns. Concerns about the media and its responsibility in this case, about whether O.J. can actually get a fair trial. There have been concerns about people making money off of misery and murder, and of course the question keeps coming up, who's going to deal with what is happening with domestic violence, the show that we are actually going to do tomorrow. And every day somebody has voiced the concern, what about the victims of this double homicide? And what about the people who are mourning them? So we decided on Rolonda that we would focus our show today on the friends who loved both Ron Goldman and Nicole Brown Simpson. We will also meet a lifelong friend of O.J. and Al Cowlings, and perhaps he can shed some light on why Al would have made that memorable drive with O.J. Like the day Kennedy was shot or the Challenger disaster, few of us will ever forget where we were when we first saw this scene and heard this voice.
This is AC. I have O.J. in the car.
Okay, where are you?
Please, I'm coming up the 5 freeway.
Okay.
Right now, we're okay, but you gotta tell the police to just back off. He's still alive, but he got a gun to his head.
It was the voice of Al Cowlings, O.J. Simpson's oldest and closest friend.
My name is AC. You know who I am, goddammit.
Al Cowlings was understandably tense. O.J. was suicidal, allegedly ready to end it all as he rode beside his friend. It was a shocking contrast to the sad yet dignified O.J. we'd seen just before at Nicole Simpson's funeral. There he was, tending to his children and accepting the condolences of his nearest and dearest. Of course, Al Cowlings was never far from his side. Some say Al and O.J. were heading no further than Nicole's grave that day in that white Bronco. Others believe Al Cowlings was helping his friend flee.
Mr. Cowlings' activities were criminal. Second, they absolutely interfered, obstructed, and caused a problem in our efforts to take Mr. Simpson into custody.
My client shouldn't be charged because he didn't do anything illegal. He was just trying to save O.J.'s life, and in my opinion, that's exactly what he did. He saved O.J.'s life.
Tomorrow in court, Al Cowlings may learn whether, in the eyes of the law, his act of friendship may ultimately have been an act of crime. With us today is Calvin Tennyson, who knew both O.J. Simpson and Al Cowlings very well. And joining us once again today is Loyola University law professor Stan Goldman. Welcome, gentlemen. Calvin, you know, almost 95 million television viewers were just glued to their tubes watching that, that ride in the car. As you watched, what were you going through having known both of these gentlemen?
Well, it was frightening for me because I didn't know what they were doing in the car. I mean, it didn't make any sense, the ride. I didn't know where they were going, and if he had a gun to his head, I couldn't see him throwing his life away for a situation like this.
Were you afraid that he might?
I was very much afraid. I could visualize him blowing his brains out in the car, and and Alan, and I mean, I grew up with these guys, and for them to get this far in life and just throw it away like that was terrifying.
It's so disheartening and sad, and to so many people who knew OJ just from television. But for you who grew up with him, what are you going through in these days of so much coverage of this and so many sad details?
Well, it doesn't seem like the media is treating him very fairly. A lot of people have already convicted him. I've talked to several people who think he did it, but this is a crime beyond OJ, beyond Allen, beyond his son. I mean, this is a monster. This is somebody that got out of the graveyard or whatever and came and cut these people up and left a trail to his house.
So you believe he's totally innocent?
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay. There was a reaction here. Anybody have something to say there? Look, I've got it. Stan, in the meantime, while I'm getting this question, explain to us, if you could, exactly what AC is facing.
Well, AC is facing a handful of charges, but the main one against him would be assisting a fleeing felon, which is actually a kind of tough charge to prove. You have to show that he knew that OJ was being sought by the police. You have to show that he helped him, and he helped him with the actual intent of helping him escape, to get away. So you almost have to get in his head and try to figure out what, in fact, he was doing in helping OJ that day. And if he can make an argument to the jury, creating a reasonable doubt as to what was going on in his mind at that time and how much he knew and what he was really trying to do in helping OJ, you're supposed to find him not guilty. It's a tough case for the prosecution to prove.
It could be an easy case. Do you think he might get off?
I think that I would, if I were still practicing criminal law, love to be the defense lawyer in this case. I think there's a lot of things going against AC, but I think in the balance with the standard of proof and the kind of crime, he has about as good a case as anybody whose case ever gets taken to a trial in downtown Los Angeles.
Okay, question.
I don't think that OJ did it because that's just a brutal thing to do. And I don't think that a man with that caliber could actually do something like that.
Okay, all right, thank you. A lot of people, I mean, we've had the argument back and forth on the innocence or the guilt situation, but you can tell us a lot about OJ and AC's relationship. You were all friends. I understand there was a situation even involving a gun that you know about.
Yeah, we were kids, 16, 17 years old, and OJ and one of my other friends got into a fight, and OJ was winning or won the fight, and the friend didn't want it to end there. So he went home and he got a starter pistol, which to us looked very much like a real gun. And he came back and he pointed the gun at OJ and said some harsh words, and AC jumped in the middle. Right in the middle, right
Would have taken the bullet if there was one.
Right in the line to fire, and convinced the friend that this is not the way to solve the problem.
See, and that's why AC has such a good case. Even if the prosecution, in effect, in the minds of the jury, can prove that's what he was doing, he was helping OJ get away, a lot of jurors are going to think to themselves, you know, regardless of that, I'd like to have a friend who might have helped me out in a situation like this. He may get a judgment notwithstanding, in effect, by the jury.
In fact, we asked the audience before this show started, what would you do? I'll give you the results of that in just a minute. And also later on in the show, the other victims in the case. People are so busy talking about OJ, there are many who are concerned that they're overshadowing Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. Some friends of Ron Goldman are going to join us, and they've brought along some home video of the last days of his life. It's all they have left of a life that touched theirs.